Hi, and we're back. Hi, welcome everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Today's Weather Tonight. Here, as always, I am your comedian / meteorologist for the evening, Cloud Hudson, and I will be bringing you all of tonight's top weather stories. So, let's get into it. Last night, obviously, we had a surprise mega stream. I didn't expect to be doing a extremely long 4.5 hour stream last night, but I got the most viewers that I'd ever gotten ever last night, which was kind of crazy. And many of them were folks who live in Alabama or had family in Alabama who didn't have any other way to get some weather broadcasting. Everybody was everybody was looking at these tornado outbreaks, the tornado outbreak that happened last night. And there was no news on because it was between like 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. that all these crazy tornadoes happened. And we were monitoring it live. A big quasi-linear convective system, or QLCS, moved through the area. And we were, I mean, honestly, it's not a very common weather pattern to happen at this time of year. It's also in the middle of the night when not a lot of people are broadcasting. So I think the major weather streamers weren't broadcasting. I was the only one. So there were quite a few people here. I've gotten over 1,000 views on that, and that's like a lot for me. So I had to be here the whole time telling people that they're going to be okay, or that it's past, or blah, blah, blah. It was really nice to be able to actually feel like I was helping somebody instead of just sitting here looking at how crazy the storms are. Unfortunately, I guess I kept everybody in Alabama safe because unfortunately there were 4 deaths yesterday and today due to the tornadoes, but they were all in states that I was not broadcasting about. The storm was moving through Alabama when I was broadcasting, and unfortunately, we have 2 people in Mississippi who have succumbed to injuries sustained from the tornado. And also somebody in Texas has passed. And there was also today a 4th death reported in Iredell County in North Carolina after a tree fell on a vehicle. She says another one had a tree fall on their home. So these are a lot of tree-related deaths. Let's see. So there has been some damage surveyed today, and it looks like EF3 tornado was happening in Montgomery County of Texas. There was also an EF3 tornado in Chambers County. There was a EF2 near Brazoria where that person did pass away. There were some EF1 and 0 counties or tornadoes in Galveston County. And that's all from Texas. But there was also, heavy rain, damaging winds, and hail were present throughout all of the Southeast. Let me show you the storm reports we've got today. This is just for Sunday, and this does include overnight last night. The storm producing this stuff was it was moving through the panhandle when we turned to overnight. We've got 3 tornadoes reported on this map. all three of them real close to Columbia, South Carolina, in the like northwest of Columbia. One here near Winsboro Mills, just north of a manufacturing plant on Highway 321, where it overturned 4 empty trailers and snapped multiple utility poles. It moved across the highway and collapsed a large garage door on the east side of a food plant and numerous trees along Industrial Park Road. Several trees and power poles were snapped near a medical manufacturer before the tornado moved through an inaccessible wooded area. There was also a report of a tornado over here. It was rated at a weak EF0, so that is the lowest rating it can get, but there definitely was a tornado. Also crossing 321. And then this one over here had a EF0. Peak wind speeds of 75 miles per hour occurred near Spring Hill area, a relatively weak but long-lived, or a weak but relatively long-lived tornado began near Old Hilton Road east of Chapin, and moved northeast, causing sporadic EF0 tree damage. So we had some weak tornadoes here in central South Carolina. I think they call this the Midlands because this is the upstate and this is the Midlands. This is the low country. So these were mostly Midlands, and there were some rumors floating around online of upstate tornadoes. There were also tornado watches and warnings issued throughout the Piedmont of North Carolina. This is the area that you actually are more likely to start seeing tornadoes again. When you're in the western North Carolina part in the mountains, you're not as likely to see tornadoes, though they can happen. And we didn't stay strong enough to bring that tornado risk all the way to eastern North Carolina. Let's see. Can I go to the previous day? Time range. Is this all of them? Yeah, okay. So I didn't even have all the storm reports, but lots of wind gust damage winds and 3 tornadoes. Let's see. Where's the date on here? You can see all these North Carolina and South Carolina reports coming through of severe wind damage and tornado damage. Can I see this map for a different day? Is that possible? Let's look at rain and flood reports. There was a flood reported here in the Davidson River. Flash flood. Oh, there's a flood reported here. Much more flooding was reported up here in Illinois and southern Illinois and the Little Egypt area. Landslides. Where was there a landslide? Of course. Out here in California, there were 4 landslides reported. That's because they got a lot of heavy rain and flooding out here as well. Let's turn on some other winter storm reports being shown here as snow all through Colorado, Idaho, and Oregon. Do we have any other? Nothing else. What about for a different day? Yes, there we go. There's the one for a different day. Okay, so this is the 28th. This is what we can see from the interactive storm reports map. These are some of the tornadoes that I was reporting on. I think this was one long stretch of a tornado. These 3 tornado reports down here on either side of Mobile Bay. Then as we got up here to Montgomery, that is where we saw a lot of tornado warnings issued. There were some potential tornadoes spawned all over here. This is a debris report, which says there was a possible tornado on I-65 at exit 164. This is near Woodley Road. Where is this? Hundreds of trees reported down just south of Mount Zion Road Baptist Church in Raymer, Alabama. Large round hay bales, missing, times based on radar, TDS on next scan, touchdown signature on next scan. Okay. So this was the path that most of that was taken last night. We did have a little bit of a meteorologist determined EF0 damage in Stars Mill and Woolsey. There were also tornadoes up here in northern Alabama, and all throughout Mississippi. Texas through Mississippi got the worst of. I mean, this is where the squall line was at the peak heating hours of the day. So, of course, they got the worst of it. So that is yesterday's big southern tornado outbreak report. 50 reports. Doesn't mean 50 different tornadoes, but it means 50 reported locations of a tornado. There were a bunch of rain reports up here, some freezing rain reports in the Northeast, snow reports all over the place there. And today we've seen the fallout from that. Let's see. Very different show today because nobody's in the chat. Let's just keep going with the show. On with the show. McDowell County had a flood advisory issued, and it has now been released. People over here in the mountains of western North Carolina were very afraid of flooding because we are still dealing with damage from Hurricane Helene, and our stormwater systems and creeks and all the ways that water flows into and around the mountains haven't been repaired or tested very much since the storm. So this was our first big rain event, and it really scared a lot of people. So we were extra on edge, on guard. But seems that everything's been pretty okay, except for there's clearly a lot of flooding in and around storm drains that have become filled up with mud from the flood. Let's see. No watches in effect right now. This is our National Weather Service advisories hazards map. We are looking at fire weather conditions in the southern plains. That's that hot pink magenta right here near Texas and New Mexico. We're also looking at high wind warnings, which usually go together, and lots of fog in the places that are in the wake of where we got rain yesterday. No surprise there. Also got frost advisories and potential flood warnings throughout isolated riverine areas. All throughout Buncombe County and Henderson County, they are looking at the French Broad River flooding. We're in flood advisory for a few different rivers. Severe storms and heavy rains today happened. We were at a slight risk. Precipitation totals in some places reached 4 inches, but in most were around 1 to 1.5 inches. Let's take a look at our rivers and lakes. See if I can. Yeah. Okay, so we do have some in a flood stage. That would we reached a flood stage here. We're at a flood advisory for Swananoa River at Biltmore, NC. That is a place that flooded severely during Hurricane Helene. The sea looks like we crested out at 7.5 feet. Just so you're have a comparison, Hurricane Helene crested at like 30 feet. So this was still some action stage required flooding, didn't even get to minor flooding, but we did get minor flooding here at the French Broad River at Ballantyne. This is a little bit further south and got a little bit more of a direct hit. They made it all the way to a 16.5 foot crest, and that did kick them up into the minor flooding territory just barely. There's some other stations like French Broad River at Fletcher that is only barely into the action stage of flooding. Overall, not a terrible flooding report, but definitely present elevated water. You can see that we got like 4 feet of rise in some parts. This is near Lake James. They had a lot of water flowing into Lake James, so pretty hard to guess. What am I saying? Okay, my brain's gonna break. What is this? Over here in Pigeon River at Newport, Tennessee, they reached moderate flood stage. For them, that is 11.47 feet. Moderate flood stage is 10 feet for them. So that was a pretty significant area of flooding. You can see the area where GSP, that's our local field office, has issued those warnings. So exciting stuff. Let's go to check out our volcanoes. I did get some rest last night, but I am very tired still. Hi, welcome back. Were you able to make it to our stream last night? I had 1,000 people watched it. It was crazy. There was only 70 at a time, but there's been a lot of views. It's wild. I did an extra long stream to talk about tornadoes last night. Earthquakes intensify in Ethiopia. I did notice this on Earthquake 3D. We got M4.9 at 10 kilometers depth, and then increasing magnitude and frequency of quakes over here in the Awash area. At least 5 quakes of magnitude around 4.5 have been registered in the past 48 hours alone. The strongest, such as one that happened an hour ago, are being felt as far as the capital, Addis Ababa. The real number of quakes is unknown, as there is no seismic network, or at least no publicly available, covering the area, and only the largest events can be identified on global networks. So that's why it looks like we don't have small quakes over here in Ethiopia. It's because we're only sensing the ones that are like strong enough. However, a current expedition group spent the night in the area there last night and felt about 7 tremors during the night in Awash town, suggesting the real number of quakes is likely to be in the hundreds. The risk of a new volcanic eruption in this part of the Great African Rift is now higher than before, because the most likely cause of the quakes is a shallow magma intrusion, which can in turn easily break the surface and produce an eruption. People in this area should be alert. So if you weren't already afraid of a volcano erupting in this area of Africa, you should be. You've probably felt more earthquakes. That is the earth stretching and moving and shaking as it expands, full of this hot liquid magma. We've got our regular suspects erupting consistently. Let's take a look at the 29th roundup. Ooh, here's a beautiful image of Lewatobi-Laki-Laki crater yesterday that has a beautiful ash plume and then a dispersal and creation of clouds around it from thermal interactions. Samiru there. Kilauea volcano. This is a Sentinel-2 satellite imagery of Kilauea from December 27th, showing a new lava lake within the Halemaumau crater. That is a beautiful image, really cool. Yeah, there's just a new lake of fire forming. Isn't that awesome? We've got Sakurajima, Suwanosejima, and Kenlone exploding, erupting actively still. Ibu and Lewatobi, as we saw, continuing to make it. I think I read this exact description of Kilauea yesterday, so I'm not going to dwell on it. But yeah, traveling only short distances from northern vents. Third eruptive episode. So we're in the third eruptive episode, and it's lasted longer than the 3 to 4 hours of sluggish eruption previously. So we had 2 false starts, and now we've got a real eruption going in Kilauea. Fantastic. And we're getting lots and lots of earthquakes in Africa, in Ethiopia. So that's exciting. We might have a new volcanic eruption out there very soon. I hope that everybody there is okay and safe and can do their best to stay safe. What was that? Massive dent anomaly in Earth's magnetic field. What are you talking about? Stretches out between South America and Southwest Africa. Oh, I know what that is. The region of lower magnetic intensity has concerned researchers for years. The region can be hazardous for NASA's low Earth orbit satellites and spacecraft that travel through it. That's the magnetic field anomaly, allowing particles to dip closer to the surface than normal. In order to avoid losing satellites, NASA shuts down non-essential components as they pass through the anomaly, described by some researchers as a dent. The agency said observations in the past year have shown that the region is expanding and weakening, which in this case means it's growing. In 2020, researchers found that it also split into 2 lobes, causing far more issues for the agency's satellite missions. Dense rocks located 1,800 miles below Africa is believed to be what is disturbing the field's generation, resulting in the weakening effect. So somebody left too many magnets down there. 2020 study suggests that the strange phenomenon could be a recurrent magnetic event that may have affected Earth 11 million years ago. Very cool. Now let's turn to that live weather. Live weather is that we are now in a cyclone gets. It looks the most like a spinny boy. It looks like a hurricane on land, or a mesocyclone, or a large scale cyclone, mid-latitude cyclone, but it's still hanging in there with a lot of curvature. The center is right above Cleveland right now. The rain bands have made their way through, but there are still some areas of very northern East Tennessee, western North Carolina that are going to continue to get rain. Let's look at our precipitation totals. Okay. Observations. Ooh, buddy, look at that little soaking. It doesn't even look like we got, oh, that's in the last 6 hours, 24 hours. Yes, that is what happened. We got a decent soak in this area. California and Oregon, though, you got the brunt of it. Let's take a look now at our Schumann resonances, because holy crap, they've been going off. Hi, Kaylee. I'm glad you're here. Carolyn. Hi. Carolyn's my mom. Got home from holiday travels and fell asleep at 9:30 p.m. and then slept until 11 a.m. today. My batteries were more depleted than I thought. I feel like I could sleep that long right now. Let me leave this on something a little more entertaining in the background there. Check out these Schumann resonances. They've been going off. Look at all those waves. I want you to look at all of those wiggles. We've got an even very high frequency band coming in. Do you see that input all the way up here, close to 40 hertz? That is not where we usually see it, folks. That's not one of the normal bands. The normal bands follow frequencies in the ranges associated with them on this chart. So we did actually get back up to over an 8 hertz frequency in our mode 1. And you can see that there was actually an increase in frequency in mode 2 in the middle of this. So that shows us that mode 1 and mode 3 and 4 were getting the most power put into them at that little stretch of time. And that is going to be reflected by the amplitudes. Yep, you see that? Mode 2 didn't get quite as big of a spike right here in the middle of the day on the 29th as the other 3 modalities. They all got a big spike right at 0Z and started to go back up. So let's see what happened around then with the sun to cause this. Oh, I clicked on the wrong thing. Maximum X-ray flux of the last 2 hours is an M1.78. We had a coronal mass ejection that had a partial type 2 halo. Ooh, look at that. That's going to be a beaut, a big one. On the 29th, we had from 40 to, damn, we had 15 coronal mass ejections today. That is wild. Let's take a look at our X-ray flux. Obviously, the highest we had in the past 24 hours was that X 1.1 that everybody was so excited about. This happened during the peak of my stream. This is how I expect the peak of the peaks to go, is I expect them to raise up and peter off and then go back up and down again, like a wave of waves of waves. Let's see. Now, see if Soho imagery will get us anything. Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful illustration of the way the sun works. But it is, I mean, it doesn't even look like these are coming towards us, but there are components of each of these solar bursts that are coming towards the Earth. They just look like they're going off to the side, kind of. I mean, one of them, you can see like a halo. So you can see something so big around here that actually in this last frame, do you see a shooting star right here? That looks like either a proton or something else. Oh, it's so gorgeous. Let's see, auroral activity. Interplanetary magnetic field is strongly south right now. Our disturbance storm time index is pretty low. Got hemispheric power up. Yeah, south is way down. And the magnetic field is way up. So maybe they can couple up. let's take a look at the magnetosphere to see what they're doing together. Oh, I didn't drag all of this onto the, I'm just going to go to this. Let's see. Weird. And I think I remember discussing last night that the orbit of the moon is somewhere right behind here. So the moon does actually pass into areas of solar wind that's downstream of the Earth. So in a way, we really are blowing a lot of our negative toxic energy or beautiful worship and praise at the moon when we pass in front of the moon. The moon sweeps in to help us get through that. So that's really cool in my opinion. There's that density again. Beautiful. All right. Let's go to our planets because I'm very tired. All right. We've got the moon at 29 degrees, the anaretic degree of Sagittarius. We have Mercury stationed direct at 17 degrees Sagittarius, and it's separating from its opposition with Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. There is a retrograde Leo Mars at 2 degrees opposing the forward motion Pluto in Aquarius at 1 degree. We've got a sextile between Venus and Mercury and a square between Venus and Uranus. That's like the unknown and the unknowable squaring off. We've got, again, Saturn and Neptune co-present in Pisces, about to both make their ingress into Aries next year. And yeah, our nodes are in Aries and Libra. It's currently a sun day, and it was a sun hour in the last hour. I just am not broadcasting anymore. And I am so sleepy. I need to go to bed. But I wanted to just check in and say, yes, there were so many storm reports yesterday. I have a 5-hour video stream of that where I discover the X1.1 live on stream. So go watch that if you need more of me talking in your ear. I love you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.